Welcome, Kindreds. It's Jessica, and it's a really cold and dark evening here in Wales. But I've got my tea, I've got my candle, and I've got my Vision Your Year, and I'm going to start to gather inspiration, insight into what is coming up in the year ahead. So I'm inviting you to follow along with me in this video. If you've got a copy of Vision Your Year, you can do it in there. If you haven't though, then you could still follow it along if you just grab a journal. I'll link this in case you do want to buy it down below. So this is a system that I've devised to help people to be able to really, to discover, plan and achieve your dreams. And it's got a few different sections to it. The section that I'm going to be looking at today is section 2, where I'm collecting information about the new year. This is probably my most fun. It's kind of the easiest part because it is kind of like using tarot, using astrology, using numerology and all that kind of good stuff to just figure out really what is coming up in the next year and let the kind of themes emerge out of there so I can see what it is that I'm going to be working on and how that kind of like resonates with the bigger picture kind of stuff. Because, you know, we're not divorced from that, are we? We are like obviously individuals and we're working on our own personal stuff that is going on, but we're in this like environment, in this soup of the energetics that are surrounding us. And so it's really important to situate ourselves within that context. So I'll just quickly take you flick through part 1 just so you know what's kind of come before, so you can kind of see where we are in the process. I won't spend ages on this, but part 1 is all about kind of reflecting back on the year that has passed or is kind of coming to a close now. So this is probably my most I'm always like, oh, I have to fill this bit in kind of, but when I do it, it also unearths loads of really good insights as well. So it's like I resist it, but it's so worth doing it that I'm really glad that, you know, like I kind of make myself do it, and it makes me feel really good actually to do it in the end. So celebrating myself, gratitude, memories, difficulties. What else have we got? We've got learning, personal growth, connections, self-care, goals and intentions, surprises, word of the year, so like my word of the year from last year, predictions for that's like reflection on the predictions that I made last year. I'll be making some predictions again then for the coming year. And then guidance, so that's like working with deity and things like that. There is a ritual to release the year that is past. I haven't done this yet because I'm hosting a live ritual for everybody who has the workbook. If you bought the workbook on Amazon though, please do let me know, because I won't know that you've bought it if you bought it on Amazon. It's only if you've bought the digital copy, I'll know automatically. Some of you already messaged me to let me know, but if you could just give me an email and say that, you know, like you've bought it, and send me like a screenshot of it or something like that, and then I'll send you the invite to the ritual that we're going to have, where we're going to like let go and acknowledge everything that has passed and then open space for everything that is to come. So I'm going to do that after. I'm going to fill this in after that ritual that we're going to be doing basically just before the new year, on the new moon, on the Capricorn new moon. So this is the section that I'm working on today. This is the collect section. So numerology is the first thing that we are looking at here, and I've got just like a kind of like very simple overview of what each of the different numbers 1 to 9 represent, and then also a little bit about the master numbers and things like that as well. So the numerology of 2025. So what I do with the kind of general sections, the kind of information sections, is I usually take like a highlighter. So I've got a mild liner, a zebra mild liner here, and I'm going to just like highlight any sort of things that jump out of me basically about the numerology, because we have got for 2025 we've got the number 9. It's a hermit year. It's the number 9, which is a year of completion, wisdom and spiritual fulfillment. So I'm going to just highlight those. So like I'm looking for themes basically. So energy of 9 brings with it a sense of completion and closure. It's the final single digit number. So if you think about in tarot as well, like it's the last single digit number, and then the 10 is kind of like the full culmination, but it kind of also collapses back into the ace and we start the cycle again, you know. So this is like the very end point of the cycle, the 9. So at the end of a cycle, time for reflection. I might underline end of cycle actually. Wisdom, deeper understanding of the self. Okay. So I'm going to highlight that, especially as for me, I am already in a personal 9 year, which we'll talk about that in a second. So I'll show you how to work out your personal numerology. This is like our general numerology of 2025. This year, 2024, has been an 8 year. So last year's workbook, I explained more about the 8 But yeah, here we're in 9, moving into 2025. The number of the wise soul, the humanitarian, and the seeker of truth. So this year invites you to take stock of what has come before. So that's going to be something. It's like reflection, and prepare for a new chapter. It's a time for letting go of what no longer serves you and embracing the fullness of your personal evolution. Okay. In the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, the number 9 is reflected in cards like the Hermit, who carries the light of wisdom to guide the way forward, and like the 9 of Cups, a card of emotional satisfaction and contentment after hard work. Also like the 9 of Pentacles, it's like all of those 9s have got that energy of like something is coming to an end. Even the 9 of Swords, which is kind of, much more tricky energy, but it is like we're nearly there now, it's an end of a thought pattern, and quite usually we're kind of not actually as stuck as we might think that we are. The 8 is the more stuck energy, and the 9 is like the kind of culmination coming to the end. So that is the general numerology, and then your personal numerology. So I explain here how you figure out your personal numerology. So 9 is active for all of us, but what is active for you personally? I'm going to work out mine here, my number for 2025. And it's really simple how you do it. If you've done tarot for yourself with Mary Greer, she explains how to do this as well, working out your numbers, your cards and things like that. It's the same process. You just stack up the day of your birth, the month of your birth, and then 2025, and then you get to a total. So that's the example here. So I was born on the 4th of June, and then I just need to put 2025, which I actually could have filled in for you, couldn't I? But I haven't. So 2025, and then you just add those up. So 4 and 6 is 10, and 5 gives us 15. 2 and 1 is 3, and then we have 2, 0, 3, 5, and then we need to just add those digits up. So 2 plus 0 plus 3 plus 5. So 2 plus 0 plus 3 gives us 5, plus 5 gives us 10. So my numerology for 2025 is 10, which gives me the wheel card. It also collapses down and gives us 1 as well. I know, like, because my month and day of birth adds up to 10, then I know that I'm always adding 1 to whatever the card of the year is. And I also think about it as adding 10 to the card of the year as well. So I actually feel that I'm working with 3 cards in 2025. I'm working with 19, which is the Sun, because 9, the Hermit card, the numerology for 2025, plus 10 from my birth date gives us my trump 19, the Sun. I'm working with 10, which is the Wheel. And I'm also working with 1, which is the Magician. So all of those cards are in play for me in 2025. Just a point though, that I don't see these as being fully activated until I get to my birthday. And because my birthday is in June, that means that I'm still working with my number for 2024. It like overlaps for me into the new year. So you'll end up with like kind of 2 numbers. You'll end up with your birth date, like unless you're born on the 1st of January, in which case your number and the year sync up exactly. But for most of us, we won't be born on the 1st of January, so we will have to have our number for 2024 and our number for 2025, and you can see both of those. So like I was already working with the Hermit energy because I was working with 9. I was also working with the Moon card 18, and I'm still working with those as we go further into the year. The 10 or the 1 is actually quite special because it ends up with 3 cards in the constellation as opposed to 2, which is what we usually get in the constellation. So we are as a whole working with that 9 Hermit energy, which means that we as a whole will be working with that 18 Moon energy as well from the tarot. So do any of the keywords associated with that number? So I can look up the number 1, the Magician, and let's have a look. What is, sorry, I got the wire because I needed to plug my phone in and it's getting on my nerves. So associated with new beginnings, independence, leadership. So I'm going to write those things down. New beginnings. And I'm already noticing that a lot of the things that are jumping out at me at the moment are about endings and beginnings. This seems to be like a place of culmination and starting again, which is what is coming up for me. Independence was the other one. I'm going to put culmination as well, because new starts, cycles, you know, because we're also thinking about that wheel as well, and like that sun. But like I said, these are more coming into play for me as further on in the year. I feel like I'm still working with that 9, so completion, humanitarianism, spiritual growth, very much so, for the first half of the year until I get to my birthday, and then that's when I'll be leaning into that. So yeah, maybe I'll write my Hermit 9 ones here as well. So spiritual growth, culmination, I wrote that on the other side as well, but those are the words that are kind of jumping out. And I'm not too precious, you know, as you can see, when I'm filling this in, I just want to kind of get everything down, and then I will make an entry in my journal then as like a kind of 2025 setup when I've got my, you know, like when I've got to the very end of this and I've got my goals and I know what I'm doing, I'll make a like a couple of pages in my journal just to have that there ready for going through into next year. Just take a quick sip of my tea before it goes cold. So next I've got a forecast for 2025, which I've written. So I kind of know what's in here already, but what I would recommend doing is going through and highlighting anything that kind of jumps out at you then with that forecast. Like I know that this year ahead is looking like, it's looking like a kind of liminal year. It's looking like a year that has like one foot in the past and one foot in the future. And so I can already see how that is like tying in with my own personal number and the collective number for the year, you know. So it's like, yes, there are already themes popping out with this. So I'm going to just highlight some of the like more sort of specific things. So community is something that is coming out for 2025. Confronting your own underworld. Yeah, so like personal and societal transformations coming in, preparing for a future still in its birthing stages. You know, it's like it's not quite there yet, but we're kind of moving towards it. And we've got Neptune coming into Aries, giving shape to dreams. That's interesting. I'm gonna highlight that. You know, like with this, it's like I've invited you to do this with me, so I'm sorry if this is boring as I'm going through doing this, but a few of the people in our Discord server had asked me, could I model this process? Because like to me this is second nature, because I've been doing this process for quite a long time now. But if this is new to you, you know, then maybe seeing me going through it like step by step like this is helpful. I hope. So this is the first time Neptune's entered Aries in over a century. You know, so this is a big new epoch that is beginning, from a pivotal shift from inner contemplation to courageous outward expression. However, it's kind of like, you know, like kind of going in and then out. So Neptune goes into Aries, but then it goes back into Pisces. So it's like we're kind of getting a glimpse of the future. I think more like what 2026 has to hold. I know it might freak you out a bit thinking already that far ahead, but that it does seem like that next year. You know, it's like it's giving us a taster of 2026 and allowing us to kind of climatize to that Pluto in Aquarius as well. Yeah, it may feel disorientating, offers insight into the balance between vision and action. I like that, so I'm going to highlight that. Where do we still need healing before moving forward? Ooh, healing before moving forward. That's important. Okay, and yeah, aligning up the personal with the collective. That's definitely a theme that is coming through as well, through 2025 forecast as well. So Uranus is going into Gemini. Gemini is where my sun is, so this is going to be very potent for me. There's a section, oh no, actually in here, I'll show you that bit in a minute now. That's a very Welshy thing to say, now in a minute. So yeah, curiosity, innovation, hunger for new ideas, marking the start of an exciting era in communication, technology and social thought. Gemini's influence sharpens Uranus's visionary impulse, urging us to question what we know and explore new forms of knowledge. In Gemini, Uranus will challenge established beliefs and encourage us to think with greater adaptability and ingenuity. Yet it's also retrograding back into Taurus in November. So it's like the first part of the year we get this kind of like idea, and then it's like, no, not quite yet. Kind of thing. We've also got this Pisces Virgo axis, which I'm going to highlight. For me, that is my 6th and 12th house. So I'm talking about that kind of like those kind of like personal habits and routines, and then that more kind of like spiritual, how I connect with all that is kind of thing is going on for me within that axis. Obviously for you, it could be your 1st and 7th house, which will make things a little bit different. So Jupiter in Cancer. So this is my Jupiter return. So this also feels like a big deal. Like a lot of this astrology is hitting in my personal chart quite a lot as well. Don't worry if you don't understand that. Like that's the whole point of me putting this forecast here, is that you can just pick out the themes that are actually written down here. You don't have to like know how that applies to your chart, but if you do, you can take that further, you know. So we got some eclipses and key dates. So lingering at the threshold of transformation, that is what this year is all about. So explore the layers beneath our daily lives. So that is could be a potential focus area, exploring layers beneath the daily lives. Meeting the unknown with courage, curiosity, and humility. Yeah. The arrival of new ideals, innovative ways of thinking. Patience, integration, reflection. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. The invitation this year is to create space for what is to come, engaging in the inner work that will ready us for changes on the horizon. As we navigate 2025's profound liminal space, may we find inspiration, resilience, and the courage to dream consciously, stepping boldly towards a future we first imagine, then create. So dream consciously, stepping boldly towards a future we first imagine, then create. I'm gonna keep that. Okay, so this section now is drawing out the personal themes from that astrology. So like those are the things that jumped out to me. If, you know, this stuff is going to land for us differently. So it may be that other things stand out for you, you know. So, you know, take it, and, you know, you can use different forecasts as well. You don't have to use my forecast. If you like to use, you know, like if you've got other astrologers that you like their work. Sorry, Frodo's on the beanbag behind me. He's rummaging around on it. So now you've had the forecast for the year, it's time to reflect on how those themes relate to your personal journey. So that's the process that we go through all through this section. It's like looking at the collective energy, then looking at the personal energy and how those things interrelate. So as you consider the forecast, take some time to reflect on these questions. Feel free to jot down any insights or themes that arise. Use this as a space to explore the potential that the astrology forecast holds for you. If you feel drawn to reflect more deeply, let yourself explore in a journal with other tools. So is there an area in my life which I feel I'm on the brink of a new chapter? So I feel like my personal relationships have shifted a lot already in personal shift I'm writing now. Relationships. Is something that I've been working a lot on, like boundaries, and I suppose, yeah, like boundaries, division between me and all that is. That's something that I have been working on, and some of that stuff is coming up in that forecast as well. And also like work and connections with people through my work. I've been expanding, kind of like my worldview, I suppose, my reach, I guess, you know, the number of people that I'm speaking to, but also like how expanding my worldview and my community. So bringing in those things around that Pluto in Aquarius as well. So these are all things that feel like I've kind of started these, but I feel like in this next year, this could be a new chapter for me opening up in those areas. So is this something I'm ready to let go of, step into, a change in response to the year's energy? So that's an interesting question. I do feel like some of this stuff, like in my personal relationships, is something that I'm definitely ready to like release now as we step into the new year. The Capricorn, Pluto and Capricorn has been like 4th house stuff for me, to do with like kind of like my roots, my belonging, and how rooted I feel. And I had a lot of like wounds, you know, when we talked about in the forecast, it said about like healing that needs to be done before moving forward. Healing before moving forward. I feel like I've done a lot of that healing this year. I'm gonna put healing moving forward. I've had a lot of therapy this year as well, which has been very helpful. I found a really good therapist, which I have been struggling to do before. So it seems like things are just kind of like slotting into place. Forgiveness as well of self, and also others who hurt me but in the past. I found a lovely quote as well about forgiveness, which really resonated for me around these things, which was, forgiveness does not mean forgetting, it's remembering without anger. And I just thought, or remembering without pain, actually, I think it was. And I was just like, oh, wow, that's that's really powerful. That's kind of like where I am at the moment. And like obviously doing this now with you guys here at the same time is kind of a bit weird. So I will go back probably and add in a little bit more stuff as well. But I'm not kind of like, I'm conscious that I'm also speaking to the camera, you know, to the video while I am doing this, so I probably will have more things. Do I sense any challenges? There might be opportunities for growth or change. Well, I do. Like with that Jupiter return coming back in my 10th house, you know, I feel like what it feels like to me is I'm being called forward, and like Goddess has been on my back for the last couple of years now about you need to reach more people, you need to be like spreading my Goddess message to more people. And I always feel like I'm not ready, I don't know enough, I'm, you know, like there's other people who can do this work. Like why, I suppose it's kind of like imposter syndrome as well, you know, it's like why me? And like while on the one hand I know that I have been doing Goddess work for a really long time, I've been doing like the moon work and all that sort of stuff, but it's been very much like a personal practice, like very much embedded in personal gnosis, in like learning directly from Goddess, learning directly from the cycles from the land, and not like validated, I suppose, you know, like not validated by an external like authority. I feel like I've been waiting for someone to come along and sort of be like, you're ready now, Jessica, you can now step into, you know, being an authority kind of thing. And I that is definitely something that I'm struggling with. So yeah, kind of like stepping into leadership, I suppose. And that's funny because leadership was one of those words that came up with that number 1 magician card as well. Also like potential, I'm going to write there as well. Yeah, and this is how I tend to work with this. I'll jump around. I will like think, oh yeah, that could have gone back there, you know. I'm not like precious about filling it in order kind of thing. Okay, so how do the year's themes connect with my personal goals or visions? So this is something like I haven't fully fleshed out my personal goals or visions. So this is a really good example actually of what I was saying about like maybe coming back to certain stuff like this as well. But I think already like that idea of culmination and preparing for a new era, that is how I am feeling also in myself with my personal goals as well. And I'll come back and add more there. Do I have ideas for how I can align my vision for 2025 to make the most of these energies? So this is about using the astrology, and like I already said, like my Jupiter return, expand, you know, that is definitely going to be calling that of me. Also that Uranus coming to my sun as well, like it's not going to make it there next year, but it's starting to head towards it, you know. And that is also an opportunity to like cast off stuff that isn't like there's kind of been holding me back from shining as well. So you know, that is something that definitely ties in with the astrology, and there'll be lots of things there as well. And at the bottom of here it says about if you're into astrology, there's a whole extra addendum to this book, which is this, which I was thinking I would go through today as well, but I think we're just not going to have enough space, you know, enough time to do this. But it's got the same forecast in there as was in the main workbook. And then it's got like more space basically for you to kind of look at your transits and things like that. If you understand that, then you can make, you know, more use of these bits. So this is really for people who are like already, you know, versed in astrology, who can read a chart. And yeah, annual perfection. So that is a big deal that I love to use in when I'm doing my year ahead. So I'm 46 years old at the moment. I'm going to be moving into 47 years old. And in the astrology workbook, it shows you how to calculate, like, so I can see that I'm currently in an 11th house perfection year, and I'll be moving into a 12th house perfection year. I made a whole video talking about annual perfections, which I'll try and remember to link that with this video as well, which can explain how to do this technique. But it also is explained here in the workbook, so you can work through it, and it will show you like which planets are activated, which parts of your chart, which kind of themes in your chart are activated. So it's not for beginners. Like if you've never looked at a chart before, this is not going to be for you at all. But if you are, you know, if you can already read a chart and you want to dive into this is like a traditional astrology technique, then this will be really helpful to you. So yeah, talking about your Time Lord and your transits to your Time Lord, they're all things like I will fill all that in. And that can help you then identify your focus areas. It's what I use mainly to define my focus areas. There are also other things you can use to define your focus areas, which are things like your ruling planet transits, like your chart ruler transits, a solar return chart where you look for your birthday. I tend to do that on my birthday though. Secondary progressions, which is another like forecasting technique, which I like to also do that on my birthday. So those are things I do on my birthday. Zodiacal releasing, which is a traditional technique which can show you kind of like which phase of your life is in. And if all of this sounds like absolute like nonsense to you, then then don't worry about it. Then the guide, you know, the astrology guide is not for you. But if you think, yes, I want to be working with my personal astrology, then maybe that might be something that you want to consider. If you do want that and this, you can, there's like an automatic discount applied when you get both of those. But if you're just interested in the astrology stuff, then maybe just that part would be for you. You may not need this, you know, this part. Okay, so now we're moving into tarot and oracle. Let me have a little bit more tea. So there are loads of possibilities for year ahead spreads. You know, in the past, I've done like very, very card heavy spreads where I've literally pulled like 4 cards for each month, and then maybe some extra cards in the middle as well, and done like a really big like wheel of the year reading. And I do still love those kind of readings. Or you can like simplify that down quite a lot and just do like a 1 card for each month pull. But what I've actually found is I've narrowed it right down to just 3 cards to do a year ahead spread, a 3-card reading. And the first card looks at the energy of the year. Sorry, Frodo is reorganizing himself again. The second card shows the focus energy, like where I'm supposed to focus my energy going into the year. And then the third card is what to like avoid. And usually this is a bit of like a call out card. So I do find that it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of like where I'd naturally like lean into, but I want to be avoiding that rather than leaning into it kind of thing. So it's very simple, and you might think that's not enough cards, you know, and if it isn't, then, you know, by all means go ahead and do like a full year ahead spread. But what I find, Frodo, stop being so noisy. Sorry. What I find is that my year ahead spreads, the first few months of the year are usually very on point, and then sometimes as I move further through the year, it's almost as if like I've slightly changed trajectory and the cards aren't actually as on point as they were at the beginning of the cycle kind of thing. So I'm going to use my Oak, Ash and Thorn to do my year ahead reading. So yeah, this is a very informal video. I hope that you don't mind that it is like this. This is kind of like me doing like my personal process, I suppose, but with you, you know. So I hope, like I said, I hope that it is helpful and not just like, why is she sharing this? Okay, so I'm going to be pulling 3 cards, like I said, the energy, the focus and the avoid. Okay, that actually feels good. Dun, dun, dun. So energy of the year. Oh my gosh, and I've pulled the star as the energy. So when I say the energy, that's like the overall vibe, you know, like the kind of environmental card of the year, like not so much my energy, but the energy of the year kind of thing. And it's funny that this card has come out, you know, because we have got this like water and the sky there, but we have got those themes of healing that were coming through in the astrology forecast as well. That healing needs to happen now, and that is a very key significator for the star card. And I think also the like being led by the stars also is something that is coming out in that card, you know. So I'm going to put healing needs to happen now to move forward. Also interesting that this is the companion card to the number 8 of strength that we've all been working with in 2025, so in 2024. So interesting that this has come out as like the energy. It's almost like some of the work, the strength work that I've been doing in this year is going to carry forward. So I'm going to put that actually, carrying forward, strength, work. And strength was one of my key focus areas for this year. So that's interesting. Into next year. So it's kind of like my gains, I suppose, my strength gains, like not so much on a physical perspective, but on a more like emotional and spiritual, I feel like, going through into that. Yeah, so I'm going to put my spiritual and emotional gains. The physical side of it hasn't been so much of a thing for me this year, but it is something that maybe will come out next year. We'll see. We will see. So yeah, also like being guided by the stars. And the fact that there is like 2 fish on this card as well is really speaking to me of like Pisces as well. And we do have the nodes in Pisces in 2025. And Pisces for me is my 6th house of like health, of healing. So interesting, really interesting. It's also opposite Virgo, which is my 12th house, which is one of the houses that is being activated by in my Time Lord as well, with my Time Lord. So being guided by the stars, Pisces, nodes in Pisces and Virgo, very relevant to me in that energy moving forward. And that's where the eclipses are going to be this year. Like where we have the nodes is where we have the eclipses, and when we have eclipses in signs, it is usually very much like new starts and also releases happening in those signs. Okay, so that is the energy. Let's have a look at the focus. Ooh, 2 of Pentacles, 2 of Pentacles. And we've got this gorgeous like mother here with these little baby hairs and the 2 of Pentacles, which is instantly making me think of like family as being the focus. Also, like with it being Pentacles, is very much like earthy and grounded. And let me put the star actually on here so I remember that's what I pulled. I will take a photograph of these cards. I won't do that like now while you're watching because that'll just be boring, but I'll take a photograph and I'll print it out on my little mini printer. And this size is the perfect size for sticking your mini printed, if you've got like a 3x2, which a lot of them are, on top of this, which is why I made it like that. So I'll be sticking that in there. And then 2 of Pentacles. So I'm going to put grounded, mother, energy, protection, earthy, so money, resources, home, all the kind of Taurus things, interestingly, as well. And I do have Uranus like crossing back and forth over my moon in Taurus in this next year, so that does make a lot of sense. In fact, I might put that Uranus, Taurus into Gemini. I'm back. That's going to be like dancing over my Mercury, which is getting activated as well with that Magician. Interesting. And my moon. It's so cool as you work through themes, just like kind of start connecting. The dots just kind of it's like there's a dot, there's a dot, there's a dot, well, there's a star, there's a star, there's a star, and then you're like, it's making a pattern. And it just kind of falls into place. And without doing it this way, I feel like it's easy to miss those patterns. And when we know what the patterns are, it just all kind of just makes so much more sense. It makes it easier to know where we actually are being pulled now to focus. It's exciting, I think. Sorry, I don't want my tea to go completely cold because I'm talking so much. So grounded. There's also that idea of like balancing, which is interesting, given that Virgo Pisces. I'll put Virgo Pisces in there as well. Like home and work, because there is a lot of emphasis on my like kind of my work and like expansion in that area, but I definitely don't want that to be at the expense of my family and my children. So yeah, that's really interesting that it's been asking me to more avoid. Look how kind of like cozy it looks as well. So cozy and like playful, I'm going to put as well. also kind of watchful. It's like there is an element of being like kind of guarded, which is why I put protection. So I'm going to put being on guard in a way as well, especially when it comes to around my family as well, and perhaps around my resources too. Yeah, there's going to be lots more there, and I will come back and write some more, but let's see what the avoid. So avoid, we've got the Knight of Swords. So I'm glad I used this deck. These are great cards for this. Beautiful as well. Like when we look at those three of them like that as well together, it's really gorgeous. Interesting as well, look at the butterfly here, which is like landed and kind of grounded, I suppose, you know, like it feeding and getting resourced here, is now like in the sky, being kind of maybe led by this crow, which has got a blindfold on with this sword, you know. And the Knight of Swords energy can often be a kind of like a charging in without being able to see. Like, you know, sometimes that can be like a positive. It's like, I'm just gonna stay kind of like true to my intuition, and I'm just gonna like kind of go all guns blazing into a situation using like my wit to defend myself. But the fact that this has come out in like an avoid energy for me suggests that I don't go so like don't go blindly into situations. Fact check, use intuition, but again it's kind of like but take care, I suppose. Like there is that element of needing to be guarded as well. Like I don't want to be in battle. Yeah, so it's kind of like avoid blind quests or unchosen battles. So I suppose also like kind of like choose battles wisely with intellect and not speed, and also perhaps like and heart and grounded. So that very much that idea of like not rushing into things. Yeah. Also maybe like not being super quick to follow up on like flashes of inspiration as well, which, you know, like I said, sometimes this is a call out card, and my issue usually is like having too many ideas and wanting to put everything into practice straight away. So perhaps there is that idea of not being pulled off into like, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this thing, kind of like rushing between ideas. So no rushing between ideas. Stay focused and grounded. You know, and I'm thinking about that very much in relation, you know, these two cards in relation to each other as well. Yeah. So like I said, I'm going to take a photograph of those and I'll put that there, and I'll probably put like messy notes, and I'll probably even look in the guidebook as well, and then I tend to use like a different color and make some other notes around that as well. And then I probably will put these cards also into my journal. Maybe will, maybe won't. You know, they're here, aren't they, for posterity now as well. So I'll just put those there. So I've got them ready to take the photograph. And let's move on to this next section, which is all about goddess guidance. So here it explains about how to connect with a goddess guide, how you might connect with that, ways that you can deepen that connection and really make it like a felt connection with the goddess guide. So there's lots of information on that. But what I tend to do is just use a goddess deck to pull a goddess guide for the year. So let's do that. Let's do that. I think I'm going to use Ethne's Modern Goddess Oracle deck. So I quite like this deck. The imagery is quite, I just like it. I think she's done a really good job on this. Yeah, so let me give that a shuffle. This is always kind of like, I want to know my goddess for the year, but I also kind of feel a little bit like trepidatious, I suppose, a little bit, you know, because the goddess that I work like in the Moonwise membership that I held space for, we work with a different goddess in every moon cycle, with the new goddess stepping forward on the full moon. And like, I love that practice so much, and we obviously work with those goddesses. I also have deities that I work with on a regular basis, but my goddess guide for the year is usually someone who stretches me. And so and working with a goddess for a year is quite a long time, isn't it? So it's like, this is going to be interesting, you know. Interesting. The goddess that came out for me last year, well, this year technically, we're still in it at the moment, for 2024, was Psyche. And that, like, she turned out to be really on point. Like, her whole story about, like, where she, well, just everything. Everything about her story. And like I said, like, I've had a lot of growth in that realm of personal relationships, and like not allowing other people to kind of intrude on that. Has been something that for me has been potent this year, and Psyche's story is so much about that, and about things kind of like bubbling up and trusting in things as well. It's been key for me. So I wasn't overly thrilled when she came out. I was like, why is this, you know, why has she come forward for me now? But then, you know, reflecting back and, you know, through the year as well. So Isis just jumped out. Maybe we'll see if she pops out again when I actually take the card. We will see. I find that happens sometimes. Isis is one of the goddesses, though, that I work with on the regular. So maybe that she just is showing me that she's with me. I have a meditation actually as well. Like, if you don't have a goddess deck and you'd like to use like a guided meditation instead to help you find your goddess guide, then that is really good. Like, the goddess who wants to work with you will step forward, will reveal herself to you. And I am also doing goddess readings for clients as well, so they are available. I'm going to get this video up hopefully today. I'll try and put it up the same day as I'm filming it, but they're available until Wednesday next week, which is like the 18th of December. Because I don't want to take on too many. I want to be able to take my time with them, and I will draw a goddess card for you and also suggest words for the year and how you can like work with her and stuff like that. So maybe that might be something if you prefer. Sometimes it's like nice to have somebody else. No, that doesn't feel right. Hang on, I'm gonna reshuffle and draw again. But yeah, sometimes it's nice to have somebody else to do that. Can you tell I'm stalling? It's like I want to know, but I also don't want to know. Okay. Ishal. I just had goosebumps actually. Is that, yes, that feels really right. Really on point with this rainbow as well. Ishal is a goddess that I worked quite intensely with at the beginning of this year, and have worked with in the past as well. We've got that rabbit on her as well, which is linking her back in with my Two of Pentacles, I feel like, as well. Yeah, also very lunar with that moon. And like I said, I am still working with that moon energy for the first part of the year, because I'm still working with the Hermit and the moon, and then I'll be switching over into my my 10, my wheel, or my magician card, and the sun in the next part of the year. Let's see what Ethne has to say about her actually, about Ishal. If I can find her. Okay, so a keyword is cycles. So that is very, I probably even highlighted that. But, you know, we talked about that idea of there being like a culmination, and that something is coming to an end now and something else is being opened. And like, yes, of course, to a certain extent that happens every year, doesn't it? But it feels even more so for me at this moment. And also, like, when I'm looking at the fact that I'm moving into a 12th house perfection year in my astrology as well, it's like I literally am coming to the end of like a 12-year personal cycle at the moment. I will be stepping into a new cycle after that, you know. So it does feel like this is like a kind of culmination, an ending period. So the symbols are the rabbit, the rainbow, the moon, and the jaguar. Affirmation, I trust the divine timing of my life. Bearing in mind, I'm going to be working with the wheel card as well in this next year. It's like, okay. Ishel is the Maya goddess of the moon. She weaves the universe into being and leads its graceful dance. Her name means Lady Rainbow, and like many goddesses around the world, she's connected to the magic of water, childbirth, medicine, and weaving. Interesting, those themes coming up. She's a mother goddess whose appearance changes with the cycles of the moon. While the moon is waxing, she's seen as a young, beautiful goddess. Then the bountiful mother at the full moon, and finally the wise crone while the moon wanes. Also very interesting for me, as I am in that, I'm very much into that perimenopause cycle now, and I do feel like I am changing faces as a mother. You know, my children are getting older. My eldest is going to turn 15 now, and my youngest will be turning 12 in 2025. And so there is a phase change that is happening for me now, and that, yeah, it's making me a little bit emotional actually thinking about that. Yeah. Okay, so divination meaning. Things may not have worked out how you wanted it to right now, but that doesn't mean that it's permanent. Ishel has come to you today as a message that life is a long journey, and the timing may actually be working in your favour, even if you can't see it at this moment. As the seasons change and the natural cycles of life continue, you have the opportunity to grow, experience new things, and evolve. Make the most out of being present. Things may come back around again, or something better will present itself. Don't dwell on what could have been. Look forward and keep going. It's not over yet. Interesting, yeah. Interesting. And like, I will obviously reflect on this, and like I said, I've worked with this goddess a lot before. I feel like I've got a lot to say, more than this space, about this goddess. I will put a photograph. I'll take a photograph of the card again with my mini printer, and I'll put the photograph there to keep that there. I also, like, I give you a space of like, how did the stories and teachings align with the vision for the year? So I will definitely be writing about what I've basically shared, you know, about how that is coming forward, and also more too. If you did get the Goddess and Word of the Year reading, it comes with a workbook for you to actually like be guided through a few steps of how to work with your goddess as well. So, you know, there's definitely more that you can do than just this one page kind of thing. But, you know, that is, yeah, that feels really big actually. Yeah. Okay, so word of the year is the next thing. So this is something that I've been banging on about for about, well, I recently, in fact, I think it was this morning, it's just been a really long day. YouTube gave me a notification this morning saying that I had got my 7-year channelversary, that I've been making videos for 7 years on YouTube. And I'm pretty sure I've been sharing about word of the year as a practice for those 7 years. So if you don't know what it is, it's basically having one word as your kind of anchor, your guiding point for the year. I've made loads of videos about it, so I won't, like I said, I won't go like fully through it again. It explains it all here as well anyway, that process for finding your word of the year. But I've already been thinking about this, you know, and I've been jotting them down in different places. I haven't been putting them down in here yet, but I already know that some ideas that have been coming up for me for my word of the year have been audacity was one of them. I keep hearing people saying about like, if women only had the audacity of a regular white guy. And I'm like, yes, that would definitely help me to step out the kind of like feeling impostery, or feeling like I just don't know enough yet, or I haven't been validated enough yet kind of thing, to be able to teach people or to lead people, you know. So I suppose, yeah, leadership is another one that's been coming up. Authority is another one that has been coming up as well. Culminate is another one that has been popping up for me. And those are the ones that have kind of come forward at the moment. With the word of the year, I feel like this is one that sometimes they just pop out and you're like, yes, that's the one. And you know, but quite often it's like it's a process that needs at least a moon cycle, you know, so that you can put down some ideas, especially, you know, can kind of pick through the themes and things that have been popping out. Like I might use themes from my goddess, I might use themes from the cards, from the numerology, put down all of those words, and then and then go through, look, and it says which words feel both exciting and slightly challenging. Why? You know, because the temptation can be to pick a word that you kind of like want to embody. Like some people will pick words like love or hope or joy or something like that. And it's not that there's anything wrong with those words, and like those could be somebody's word for the year, but our word is not like it's not an affirmation. The word is it's a spell. So there needs to be challenge within it, as well as like excitement in it. And you normally know you found it if you're kind of like, oh, is that for me? And you kind of want it, but you're also a bit like, oh, I'm a bit scared of it. You know, it's like it has that, both of those elements to it. So it can be good once you've like got a whole bunch of words to go through, and like I even sometimes just like highlight the ones that give me that vibe and then write them down in here, you know, those ones. So you're kind of narrowing it down, and then choose the, you know, there is a choosing, but like I said, you can take your time with this. Don't feel like you have to. Like sometimes a word will just come to you like in a dream, or you'll keep seeing a word repeated around the place, and then you can be sure that like being given the signs that that is the word, the right word for you. And sometimes I've thought like, oh, I've got my word, and then as it's kind of become very close to the threshold of the year, or even sometimes into the new year, it's changed. And in other years, I've had my word already by like Samhain. So it's not like a one-step process. It is definitely something that you kind of do need to sit with and let kind of percolate. And you don't feel like you have to finish all of this section before you go on to this. You do want to have an idea of the focus areas, which is what, you know, like as it goes into this section, this is more about choosing those focus areas, like maybe relationships or friendships or career, or, you know, motherhood. It can be anything. The focus areas, I tend to think of them like, that's why I call them focus areas rather than goals. It's like an area of your life which is being indicated by all this stuff that's coming, you've gathered, but which you dig into then going through it, and you'll start to kind of have your goals pop out. They just emerge. It's magic. It's a magic process. You know, that is why I've designed this book, so that it does allow that magic to happen. This space here though, like I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I'm not going to go through all of part 3 as well, don't worry. But I am going to do a little bit of additional gathering. I'm going to pull a rune as well. I like to pull a woman rune. So let me grab my runes. And let's see. Let's just see. These are my runes. These are the woman runes. They are, I'm not going to rummage actually while I'm talking to you about it. They were originally channeled by Shekinah Mountain Water, and now Molly Reamer, who the person who makes these gorgeous goddesses, it has kind of like taken custodianship of them, and she's made like a book and everything to go with them. Oh, okay. So I've got the broom, which is room 36. And what do we get if we add 3 and 6? We get 9. We get the hermit, that number that we're working with for the year. You know, this is what I mean about it all kind of just like constellating in together. It's like it just makes so much sense coming together like that. And what is the broom about? It's about clearing, about sweeping, also about like, you know, we do have magic broomsticks as well, don't we, as witches? But yeah, clearing, protecting, domestic magic, you know, thinking back to that 2 of Pentacles, you know, that is a card of domestic magic. Also, actually, this is the card that I see in the minors as being connected to the Magician card. And so, you know, I'm working with that Magician card, aren't I? That's one of my cards that is coming through for 2025. So, yeah, juggling, magic and mundane, which is like my whole thing. Everyday magic. It's how I like to live my life, so I'm excited for that. But yes, maybe I need to be focusing on like cleansing practices. I'll go through what Molly suggests in the book as well with that rune and contemplate that a little bit more. But basically with this video, I just wanted to show you the process of how I go through this part 2 section. it's like, hopefully that's shown that it's not rocket science. It's all literally laid out so that you can go through it like that. And if you don't have the workbook, you don't need the workbook to do this, do you? You just need to be looking at things like the astrology forecast for the year ahead, the numerology, your numerology for the year ahead, do a tarot reading or an oracle reading for the year ahead. Connect with a goddess guide. You know, you can do that if you've got a goddess deck, or like I said, you can, I've got that meditation that you could use as well. And there will be themes that will pop out through doing those things. You know, pull a rune for the year ahead. Themes, as you've seen, hopefully, themes emerge and they confirm them, you know, they confirm each other as you go through doing this. Like, I'm gathering a little bit from here, gathering a little bit here, gathering a little bit from here. And then it kind of comes together to make something, it confirms itself. And it makes, like, for me, it helps me to feel really focused, I suppose. You know, it's like, yes, these are the things I'm working on. And then when I take that, I'm able to then take that into my focus areas, into that planning part that is coming, you know, that comes next. I hope this has been fun. And if you are doing it, I wish you all the best of it, you know. And if you do get stuck at all, then, you know, you can leave me questions and things in the comments. I'm not always the quickest at replying, but I do always reply. Oh, also in the Discord, we've got a whole thread in the Discord where we've got a Vision Your Year thread. So if you're getting stuck on things, you can come over there and we're like brainstorming through different parts and things like that as well if you do get stuck. So I'll put the link to join the Discord in the video as well, in the video description. Thank you so much for watching. Warmest blessings, and I will see you very soon.